The village of Last Rest huddled in the crook of the mountains, governed by a truth so fundamental it was etched above every doorway, whispered with each morning's breath. You only live once. It was not a call to hedonism, but a solemn covenant. Life was a singular, precious flame. To extinguish it carelessly was the ultimate blasphemy, for there was no afterlife, no second chance, only the void. Their entire culture, their laws, their architecture, their very hearts was built around preserving that one spark. Elara was the village archivist, keeper of the Doctrine. Her duty was to chronicle the careful lives and peaceful deaths of her people. Her brother, Kael, was different. A sculptor with fire in his veins, he chafed against the stifling caution. A life measured in safeties is not a life at all. He'd argue, his hands stained with clay, shaping forms of breathtaking, violent beauty, twisting dragons and falling angels, subjects forbidden for their suggestion of chaos. It is the only life we have, Elara would counter, her voice calm as she recorded the yield of the barley fields. To risk it is to spit in the face of existence itself. The tension broke when Kael, driven by a vision he could not suppress, ventured into the forbidden Silver Spine Peaks to quarry a rare, luminous stone for his magnum opus. It was a transgression punishable by exile. He returned 3 days later, delirious, clutching a shard of crystal that pulsed with a soft internal light. He died by nightfall, not from injury, but as if his very life force had been siphoned out. The luminous shard lay beside his cold hand. The village elders, faces grim, decreed his fate just. He had traded his one life for a stone. He was buried in the barren field where the faithless lay, his name struck from the records. His death was to be a lesson, but for Elara, grief mutated into a dangerous, crystalline thought. What if the doctrine was wrong? Her rebellion was quiet, academic. She began cross-referencing Forbidden's folios, piecing together half-erased legends. She found whispers of the echo stones, artifacts said to be the fossilized memories of the world, capable of showing echoes of lives, not an afterlife, but a recording. Kael's shard, she suspected, was one such stone. If a memory of life could be preserved in crystal, then perhaps the singularity of existence was not absolute. It was a heretical thought that chilled her to her core. Driven by a sister's love and a scholar's madness, Elara committed her own blasphemy. Under a moonless sky, she exhumed her brother's coffin, not to resurrect him, but to retrieve the shard. As her fingers closed around the cold crystal, the world dissolved. She did not see an afterlife. She saw his life, but not as a memory. It was a vivid, agonizing reliving. She was Kael, feeling the burn in his muscles as he climbed the treacherous peak, the exhilaration of the Forbidden's act. She felt the biting wind, the awe at finding the vein of pulsating crystal. And then, the moment he broke the stone free, she felt the true horror. It was not an inanimate object. It was a receptor, a psychic leech, and it was hungry. It attached to his life force, his singular, vibrant existence, and began to record it, not by copying, but by consumption. Elara experienced, through his senses, the sensation of being unraveled. Every memory, every dream, every sensation of touch and taste and hope was siphoned from him, drawn into the crystal's core to be preserved in perfect vampiric clarity. His one life wasn't ended. It was stolen, bottled, and sealed inside the stone. He didn't die. He was hollowed out, made into a ghost in a mineral shell. The doctrine was horrifically right and wrong. You did only live once unless something stole that life and kept it prisoner. She gasped back into her own body in the mud of the graveyard, the shard burning in her hand. Now its pulse felt like a trapped heartbeat. She understood the village's fear, but also its tragic error. They feared the void, but a worse fate existed: to have your singular existence hijacked, Your consciousness condemned to replay eternally in a silent mineral prison. The horror deepened when she returned to the village at dawn. The elders awaited her, their eyes not angry, but terrified. They knew what she had done. The head elder, a woman named Morwen, approached, her face ashen. "You have touched the echo," Morwen said, her voice trembling. "Now it knows a conduit. It seeks more." "It's not an it," Elara whispered, holding the shard. "It's him. A piece of him is trapped. A piece that will call to others," Morwen replied, gesturing to the silver spines. "The peaks are not forbidden for the danger of the climb. They are forbidden because they are a graveyard of stolen lives. The stones are hungry, and now you have woken one." That night, the whispering began. It wasn't a sound, but a pressure in the mind, a faint, alluring pull towards the mountains, promising not afterlife, but extension, a cheating of the doctrine. It was Kael's artistic passion, his reckless joy, distilled into a psychic bait. Villagers, particularly young and discontented, found themselves sleepwalking towards the peaks, eyes glazed. Elara realized the true terror. The echo stones were a predatory ecosystem. They used the stolen lives within them as lures, broadcasting the most captivating emotions to attract new hosts. Her brother's vibrant spirit was now a snare. The village prepared for a siege of the mind. They barricaded doors and sang the solemn hymns of the doctrine to drown out the pull. But the lure was potent, speaking directly to the secret desire in every heart that feared the finality of death. Elara knew fighting the pull was futile. One could not unlive a life, but one could change its ending. She formulated a plan of ultimate heresy. She would not destroy the shard. That might scatter Kael's essence into nothingness. Nor would she try to release it, for it had no body to return to. She would complete the recording. Taking the shard, she walked past the barricades, past the pleading villagers, and into the foothills. The psychic pull became a scream, a siren song of artistic ecstasy and boundless freedom. She felt Kael's longing so powerfully it brought tears to her eyes. She found the quarry, a scar in the mountain glowing with a sickly light. Other shards pulsed around her. A chorus of stolen lives, a lover's bliss, a warrior's triumph, a child's wonder, all turned into poison bait. Elara held her brother's shard aloft. "You wanted to capture life, brother," she whispered, "but you only captured its shadow." She focused not on Kael's stolen memories, but on her own. She poured into the stone, through the connection it had forged with her, the end of the story. The grief of a sister, the empty chair at the table, the unfinished sculpture gathering dust, the crushing, mundane finality of true loss. She fed it the aftermath, the silence, the love that has nowhere to go. She gave it the weight of the doctrine, not as fear, but as truth, the beautiful, tragic truth that a singular life is precious precisely because it ends, because its echoes are felt in the hollows it leaves behind in the living. The shard's pulse faltered. The alluring broadcast of reckless joy stuttered, fractured, and was overwhelmed by a wave of profound, quiet sorrow and absolute finality. The psychic scream from the mountain cut off, replaced by a deep, resonating silence that felt like a tomb ceiling. The other stones' lights dimmed. Their predatory lure, faced with the undeniable reality of consequence and true death, retreated. They were archives of stolen moments, but they could not comprehend the narrative of an ended life. Elara had given her brother's stolen echo an ending, and in doing so, had rendered it inert, a completed story now asleep in its crystal coffin. She returned to last rest as the sun rose. The villagers saw her, pale and drained, the now dull shard in her hand. They understood. The doctrine still held, you only live once. But they now knew a corollary, a new line to etch beside their doorways. And some things hunger for that one life, Beware the echo that promises more. Elara resumed her duties as archivist, but now her records included a new forbidden volume. It told of the Silver Spine Peaks, not as a place of physical danger, but as a mausoleum of ontological theft. And on its first page, she wrote the final lesson. Learned in the grip of a horror worse than the void. The singular life is sacred. Do not seek to extend it. Do not allow it to be stolen. For a life imprisoned beyond its end is not a victory over death. It is the desecration of the only thing we ever truly own.